All right, let's get right into it. What we're diving into today is, well, it's a series of raw, unfiltered observations about life, identity, and the systems we all live in. This comes straight from our source material, and it paints a picture of a worldview that's, let's just say, stark, pretty cynical, and deeply personal.
So, right off the bat, the worldview we're exploring is built on some serious cynicism. It starts with this core idea that progress is just an illusion. Everything we see, everything we're sold, it's just the same shit repackaged. A new phone, a new political movement, a new identity. It's all just a shiny new wrapper on an old, familiar product.
And following that cynicism, the source material just kind of tosses out the whole myth of meritocracy. The belief here isn't that hard work is worthless, not at all, but that it's secondary. As this slide puts it, timing is better than effort. Being in the right place at the right time, or maybe being born into the right circumstances, that's always going to open more doors than pure brute force effort. And here we get our first hint of a survival strategy in this kind of world. When you're navigating tricky social power dynamics, the advice isn't to be louder or more assertive. It's the opposite. The source suggests you should intimidate them with silence. See, power isn't just in what you say. It's in the calculated choice not to speak, letting others fill that void with their own insecurities. This brings us to our first major theme, the whole performance of identity. The source material basically argues that who we are in public is rarely who we are in private. It's a carefully constructed act, a role we're playing for the world. This performance is treated almost like a product, a performance package. The idea is yourself isn't some authentic thing to be discovered, but a thing to be assembled, panel beaten, painted, and covered up. And you can see from the list here, from fake smiles to the way you smell and talk, every single element is a calculated part of this act. And this performance you've built, it gets put to the test immediately. The first question isn't, who are you? It's more like an interrogation designed to place you in a social hierarchy. It starts with your education, a key marker of status. Then the questions start probing your resources, your place in the community. And again, this isn't just curiosity. It's all about establishing your background and your connections to figure out exactly where you fit. And then it goes even deeper, moving beyond what you've achieved to who you're connected to by blood. Your mother's identity suddenly becomes a part of your own social evaluation. And the interrogation wraps up with what's presented as the ultimate validator. Who is your father? So in this worldview, your identity isn't really your own. It's more like a composite score, calculated from your education, your resources, and most importantly, your family line. Now, this idea of performance gets broken down even further, right along gender lines. The source material describes the different props and posturing that men and women apparently use as the tools of their trade. For men, the props listed are kind of what you might expect, external signs of status like cars, job titles, net worth. But what's really revealing here is this performance of absence. According to this view, posturing also involves not doing things, not reading, not providing money, not being emotionally supportive. It's about projecting an image through what you withhold. And for women, the tools of performance are framed very differently. Here, the focus shifts to appearance, the status you get from marriage or partnership with a man, and the careful curation of sensory details, the way you dress, smell, and sound, all to create a very specific impression. Now, all of this focus on individual performance, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's presented as a survival mechanism inside what the source views as a fundamentally broken society, a system basically built on suffering. This worldview sees history not as some story of progress, but as a relentless timeline of struggle. I mean, look at this. This 7-year period is mapped out as an escalating cycle of suffering. It goes from wars to economic wars, then to assassinations and abductions, and finally, the tax system itself is viewed as a weapon against the people. And this disillusionment extends to the very idea of democracy. It's stripped of all its ideals and presented as a brutal equation of power. The minority will have their say, but the majority will have their way. The system isn't seen as a tool for justice, but just as a mechanism for the powerful to impose their will on everyone else. So after looking at all those pressures from the external world, the source material shifts focus inward. It turns to the personal, internal struggles of just trying to navigate it all. At the heart of this internal battle is one core conflict: the need for approval from others versus the ability to generate it for yourself. It's that constant tension between hearing, "You are doing a great job," and being able to truly believe it when you say, I am doing a great job. So, to cope with all the anxiety this world creates, the notes offer a raw, physical, almost primal set of instructions. Yeah, this is not about meditation or mindfulness. It's about a visceral, physical release of tension from your body before you have to face an intense situation. And this internal state you're in, it directly dictates how you behave. Believing you're a nobody with nothing to lose, that breeds recklessness, impulse, and raw emotion. But the moment you feel like you're a somebody, that you have something to lose, your behavior shifts. You become cautious, rational, controlled. Your actions aren't driven by desperation anymore, but by the need to protect. So, given this really harsh external reality and the intense internal battle, what's the proposed code for survival? How do you actually live in this kind of world? The answer here isn't to try and fix the broken world, but to build a personal code for how you interact with others inside of it. This manifesto focuses on mutual growth and avoiding harm. But look closely at that point. Create positive distractions. This isn't about solving life's big problems. It's about finding ways to consciously look away from them just so you can function. And the final piece of actionable advice is all about curation. In a world that is just flooded with noise and negativity, survival apparently depends on fiercely controlling the information you consume. It's a call to classify what you see and actively upgrade your mental diet. You know, this whole collection of thoughts, it doesn't end with a neat conclusion. It leaves us with a final provocative question. It asks us to reframe our entire understanding of existence through a new metaphor. If life were a body, with all its interconnected systems, its organs, its vulnerabilities, what would that actually mean? It's a thought that just kind of leaves us to continue the explanation on our own.